All right, guys, this is the second part, the continuation of the Chapter 4, Test Number 1, Test Prep Questions. This is 4-3 matrix multiplication. Now remember, part of the matrix multiplication, besides just multiplying two matrices together, is scalar multiplication, where you're multiplying a number on the outside of the matrix to the elements inside the matrix. Let's take a look at number 1. Okay, so we have 3 times A. So we have 3 times this matrix, which is going to be 3, 4, 6, -2, 1, 0. So we're going to multiply each element within that matrix by 3, which is going to give us 9, 12, 18, -6, 3, and 0. All right. Let's take a look at number 5. We have A minus 2 times B. So then we would have the matrix 3, 4, 6, -2, 1, 0. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to plus. And instead of multiplying B by -2, I'm going to multiply it by -2. So basically I'm putting a plus here and then treating that like -2. So -2 times -3 is 6. -2 times 1 is -2. -2 times 2 is -4. -2 times -4 is 8. -2 times -1 is 2. And -2 times 5 is -10. Then we add these two matrices together. 3 plus 6 is 9. 4 plus -2 is 2. 6 plus -4 is 2. -2 plus 8 is 6. 1 plus 2 is 3. And 0 plus -10 is -10. All right, so that's it. Now let's take a look at the next section. All right, so solve the matrix and then check your answer. Okay, so let's take a look at number 9. We are wanting to get the x term by itself, which means I need to undo this matrix. But holy cow, do you see this 3 here? So I need to multiply that 3 to everything on the inside before I do anything else. So 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times -1, -3. 3 times 5 is 15. And then we still have that minus 2x equals -10, 5, 0, 17. We're going to subtract this matrix from the left, which means I also need to subtract it from the right, because I need to keep my equation balanced. So then we have -2x equals -10 minus 6 is -16. 5 minus 0 is 5. 0 minus a -3, so minus a negative makes that positive, so that's 3. 17 minus 15 is 2. Okay, now if you remember in class, I said you cannot divide, technically. With matrices, you multiply by its reciprocal. And so this is -2, so its reciprocal would be -1/2. So we multiply each element within that matrix by -1/2, which is the same as dividing by -2. Okay, so these cancel out, and you're left with -16 over -2 is 8. 5 divided by -2 is -2.5. -1/2 of 3, or 3 divided by -2, is -1.5. And then 2 times -1/2, or 2 divided by -2, is -1. And that would be your final answer. Okay, now we have our good old-fashioned matrix multiplication. Okay, let's take a look at number 12. All right, so the first thing I would do is, this is a 2 by 2. That didn't work out so well. Let's see if I can write it up here. So we have 2 by 2 and we have a 2 by 2. These match, so then I'm going to have a resulting matrix of a 2 by 2. All right, so here we go. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. 0 times 5 is 0. Row 1, column 1 is done. Now row 1, column 2. 1 times 4 is 4. 0 times 2 is 0. Now we go to row 2, column 1. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, plus negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. 2 times 4 is 8, plus negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. So then our solution matrix, negative 3 plus 0 is negative 3. 4 plus 0 is just 4. Negative 6 and negative 15 is negative 21. 8 and negative 6 is 2. So that's how you do matrix multiplication. Remember, it's always element 1 times element 1. Element 2 times element 2. Element 1 times element 1. Element 2 times element 2. And you add those together and you simplify. Okay. Right. The final one from this section was to determine if a product was defined or not. So looking at 22 and 23, for example. So you have F times H. So F, H is a 2 by 2 times H, which is a 2 by 1. Well, that matches. So this is defined. And then your solution matrix is going to be a 2 by 1. Now let's see if it's reversible. So H times F. So we have a 2 by 1 times a 2 by 2. 1 and 2 are not the same, so this would be undefined. All right. 4-4. This is the most recent assignment that we've done, and this one is the reflections, rotations, and also the translations, where you're just sliding it right and left, or just adding and subtracting. Okay. So 13 through 16. This one you are doing a reflection. Let's do let's do number 15. So then the y equals x matrix is going to be 0, 1, 1, 0. And then I need to multiply this reflection matrix to my coordinate matrix. So then we have 1, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, and then 2.5, 5. All right, so hopefully with the reflections and rotations, you picked up that there's a 0 in each row, so typically you end up not having to add a whole lot together. All right, so we have 0 times 1, which is 0, plus 1 times 3. 1 times 3 is 3. 0 times 2 is 0. 1 times 2 is 2. So 0 plus 2 is 2. 0 times 3 is 0, plus 1 times 2, which is 2. 0 times 4 is 0. 1 times 3 is 3. 0 times 2.5 is 0, plus 1 times 5. All right, so we got row 1 done. Now looking at row 2. So we have 1 times 1, which is 1, plus 0 times 3. so that's just 1. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 0 times 2 is 0, so that's just 2. 1 times 3 plus 0, so 1 times, I'm getting sleepy. Row 2, column 3. 1 times 3 is 3 plus 0, so this is just going to simply be 3. 1 times 4 is 4. 0 times 3 is 0. So 1 times 4 is 4. And then finally, 1 times 2.5 plus 0 times 5 is going to give you 2.5. All right. Now the final 2 questions from the test prep that will be on the test are going to be similar to 1 through 5, where we did the adding and subtracting of the translation. And also, more than likely, since you have a reflection up here, I would bank on there being a rotation. Okay. So it's going to be very similar to what you did and above. 29, sorry, not 29, 30, a translation 1 unit right. So that means we are going this way, which means we're adding, and then we're going 7 units up, which means we're also adding. Okay, so now looking at my points, we'll go ahead and write that here. So we have -3, 1. B is at 1, 2. And then C is at -1, 4. Okay. And so now I'm going to create the translation matrix. Just rewrote the coordinate matrix. The translation matrix says 1 unit right. So for every element I have in the first row, I'm going to write 2. And then 7 units up, so every element in the second row, I'm adding a 7. And now we just simplify. -3 plus 2 is going to give us -1. 1 plus 2 is 3. -1 plus 2 is 1. 1 plus 7 is 8. 2 plus 7 is 9. And 4 plus 7 is 11. Okay, and then we need to look at the other kind. 27 and 29 are dilations, which means the shape is changing. Either it's enlarging or it's reducing. If the number is greater than 1, enlargement. Less than 1, it is a reduction. So for 27, you would multiply every element within that matrix by 4. And then for 29, you would multiply it by a half. And then we have rotation of 90 and 180, and then reflection. So again, these are going to be just like what we did up here. You will be given those reflection and rotation matrices on your test so that you don't have to memorize them. All right, that pretty much wraps it up. I hope that clears up any questions. If not, please email me. And I should be at school kind of early in the morning, so if you want to stop in, you're more than welcome to. Have a great night.